And even if they're not going to do as good of a job as you think that you could do, accept the work regardless. When I was growing up and in elementary, middle, and high school, one of the things that I hated hearing the most was, class, today we will be doing a group project. Group projects were the bane of my existence. I had to talk to and interact with other people that I normally wouldn't enjoy talking to begin with. And there was always one or two people who didn't want to do any work, who refused to do anything to help. So what would inevitably happen is we have a group project, and then me and maybe somebody else would carry the entire project, while the other one or two people would just go mess around in the corner and just goof off. So I go through 14 years of education to eventually graduate and realize that I don't like working in teams. I would rather take all of the glory. I would rather learn everything myself, do it all myself, and present it as my own work, and not have a collaborative experience. I take that mentality, and I brought it into my professional life. My first job at a movie theater, sure, you had to work together, but generally, instead of trying to work as a team and to delegate responsibility, I would just try to work twice or three times as hard as the people around me to try to stand out more, instead of trying to make it a collaborative effort. I go on to my second and my third job, and it stays about the same. I didn't like working in groups. I saw it as something that was holding me back, letting other people take the glory, not being able to stand out, and I figured, I'm a smart enough guy, I'll just learn everything and do it all myself. I have the bandwidth, I have the energy, I have the motivation, I'll just do it. And then we get to my current job. I currently work as a manager at a food establishment, and when I started there, didn't do so hot. Now, I had previously worked there as a regular employee, left, came back as a manager, but I didn't realize how much I had to learn. And without the help of the team that was working with me to help me get trained up as a manager, I wouldn't have been nearly as successful as I am now. I learned, and have learned, and continue to learn while working at this place, that having a solid team who each have their own individual strengths that can contribute to the shift, it makes us as a team more successful. I came to realize that I can't do everything by myself, that I need people who have more specialty experience to be able to take care of the things that I can't do or do it better than I could. Now, sure, I can be a generalist. I can roughly know how to do everything in the building. I can cook, I can talk to customers, I can take care of the administrative work. But at the end of the day, it's more beneficial to me, to the team, to the store, by having people who do one thing really well than five things kind of well. A good example as I was growing up is I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I still do to a certain degree, but it's not as important to me. And I thought that I could do everything by myself, make my own website, make my own videos, record audio, video, learn about lighting, learn about editing, marketing, thumbnail, everything. What I came to find out is it's a lot to learn, and I can do it all. The problem comes in that I don't do it all very well. I do everything, but I'm not specifically focusing on everything. If you're a professional editor for a YouTube channel, you're editing 5 to 10, maybe even a dozen videos a week. You're going to get really good at editing. If you're someone who's primarily personality based, and all you do is sit in front of a camera and you talk for hours and hours a week, you're going to be very good at being a personality on YouTube. If all you do is market, all you do is business strategy, all you do is finance, whatever it might be, you're going to get really good at that one thing. And by being really good at that one thing, you're now marketable for a job, a career path. Whereas if you're a generalist, what can you put on your resume? Yeah, I can do all of these things kind of okay. I mean, you're not going to want to hire me because you already have people who are specialists in all these other areas, but I can do a lot of things kind of well. It's not beneficial and it's not optimized to try to do everything extremely well. It takes a long time to learn a skill and to do it extremely well and to stand out in that skill. It makes more sense to outsource tasks that either you're not personally inclined to do, something that you don't want to do, or something that you just feel as though you can't get as good as another person at doing. I'm not great at editing. My YouTube channel is a great testament to that. I can do basic cuts, but if you wanted me to do something super complex, I haven't learned it, and quite frankly, I don't want to learn it. The hope is eventually that the channel gets big enough to where I can outsource all my editing, so all I'm really doing is recording videos and being a personality. Until that point comes, I have to be a generalist, and I have to edit my videos. But that's not optimal. I'm not really maximizing the amount of time that I'm spending on this channel by doing everything by myself. I just don't really have the resources right now to outsource that. Let's get back to the school example. I come to realize later on in life, the better way to have approached that situation where you have one or two people not doing anything is to help teach them or encourage them or give them some form of incentive, whether it be positive or negative, to get the job done. Now, it was way more simple to just take the entire workload for myself. I can spend the extra hours doing it. I have the time, I have the energy. Instead of doing that, a better approach might have been to tell them, hey, if you're not going to help me, your name's not going to be on this project. You're not going to present with us, and you are going to fail this class. Now, wasn't always an option in school. The schools that I went to basically said, hey, if you can't make it work as a team, that's real life. You better suck it up and get used to it. And that's fair. You're going to go into the professional world, or maybe you're already in the professional world, and they're going to have people who aren't carrying their own weights. They're skating by, doing literally the bare minimum, get a paycheck, go home. There are other people who are go-getters. They're outgoing. They want to succeed and excel. So they're going to do way more than the average person. They're going to pick up that workload to get noticed. Both strategies have their merits. If you only want to get a paycheck and you're just showing up to work to do the bare minimum, it makes sense not to take on extra workload. You don't have to take pride in the work that you don't love doing. If you're someone like me who wants to stand out and wants to get noticed, picking up that workload is very advantageous and helps you stand out. The problem comes whenever you take on so much responsibility and too much workload that all of a sudden everything you're doing is falling apart because you're not able to prioritize when you're doing everything at once. The better strategy is to have someone pull their own weight. Whether you have to tattletale to them in school, whether you have to go to your direct report at work and tell them that your coworker isn't doing what they need to do, regardless, you need to get them on it. Now, you don't have to go immediately to your superior or supervisor. You can always talk to them first, have a conversation, see if they need any help. Maybe the kid in your class doesn't actually understand how to do the project, or maybe they weren't clear. Or maybe they're just a little bit ADHD and they weren't paying attention during a crucial part of the project. It's better to try to reach out, try to have that dialogue, and see what you can have them do, instead of just shouldering all the responsibility at once. At the end of the day, sure, it's going to get done whether or not they decide to help, but it makes more sense to try to learn those skills earlier on, to try to become more of a leader, more of a delegator, and learn how to work with other people. I grew up and I didn't like working with other people. I generally don't like other people, but it's really valuable to learn how to work as a team, to do some give and take, to figure out how everybody can work together as a cohesive unit, than to try to stand alone as an island. Teamwork is hard. It's complicated. It's difficult to work with people's egos, their emotions, their different personality quirks. Not every single person is designed or destined to work together. There are some people who just literally cannot have a dialogue without it becoming toxic, or without it becoming violent or aggressive. And that's fine. The objective is to be able to work with the most amount of people in the most diverse setting possible so you can utilize everybody's skills. People are going to have different inclinations to different kinds of things. And when you have a wide, diverse group of people coming together, you realize how many different skill sets you can acquire, how many skill sets you can utilize during that period of time. So if there has to be a takeaway from this video, my hope is that if you're like me, who was growing up and didn't like working with people, try to swallow your pride. And even if they're not going to do as good of a job as you think that you could do, accept the work regardless. It's better to have a slightly above average work than to do all of the work yourself, have maybe slightly more above average than that, but at the end of the day, you spent 3 times as long as you should have doing that work when you could have spent that time doing literally anything else. I hope this video was mildly informative. I hope you guys got some value out of what I had to say here today. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you leave a like. If you want to see more, I hope you subscribe. And do not forget to keep it casual.